does a man's notch count matter? And what we mean by notch count is, does the amount of women a man has sex with, is that important? Is that not important? Notch count does help to an extent because it does help dampen the infinite sexual hunger that men have, because our sexual hunger never goes away. I'd like to take a moment to introduce a super cool guy, probably one of the most unsung dating coaches and just all around pimps in the dating area, Mr. Afi Kingdom. Afi, you got to unmute yourself because I can't unmute you. I'm gonna hit you with the full screen, bro. Why don't you just tell these people who you are, what you're about, and what you think about if a notch count matters or not.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. I'm Afi Kingdom. I do YouTube podcasts. I got a wrestling channel, a mukbang channel, and I got a nice little Instagram where I do exclusive little free gay Fridays and wisdom Wednesdays and things of that nature. I had a channel since April 2018. And I got a Patreon. So from then I'm at like 12.7 right now, which is pretty cool. As far as the topic, I'm gonna break it down in layers. Well, the body count, it does matter, but it doesn't matter because I don't know. You know what? It depends on how old you are, because a lot of us are a little older. So the way, like I heard my man saying earlier, the way that we were getting it in is different than the guys. The guys, that 10-year bracket is different. Like if you're around the MySpace days and all that, it was a whole different lane. Pre-smartphone age. I'm 38 too, so I'm a little older than some guys on the scene. So I would say that it matters, but it doesn't matter. Why? Because first off, it matters on how you get the body count. A lot of guys don't speak on that. So if I'm a rich guy with some status and I'm taking girls on 5-star dinners every night, and my pockets are low, but I'm getting a high body count. But on the contrary, I'm not really learning anything because I'm not learning from the experience. My only experience is I'm taking women out, I'm spending money, they coming home with me. So where you actually learn is the ups and the downs, because you learn what to do and what not to do. You know what I'm saying? So that's the difference. I feel like even if you're a man and you have a somewhat low body count, like maybe 20, you can still say you had maybe 10 relationships, but you deal with women on the side. So you're still kind of learning. So I think that's the main problem with a lot of guys nowadays, is they're going through these things and they're not actually learning from what they go through. Reason why I know that is because I get the same questions every time. And sometimes I'm at a point where I can just tell a guy, I'm gonna help you answer your own question. Because sometimes it's just oxymoron like that. So it matters. A man needs a certain amount of experience, but at the same time, if you're the type of person who evaluates your mistakes, he said my jacket is fire.
I knew that was going to distract you. My bad.
Yeah, man. I like clothes. It's cold out here in the Bay where I am. That's why I got this beanie on and stuff. But yeah, you got to learn from your stuff. Okay, put it like this. So me and Jonathan, for instance, say we're neck and neck. We're high school buddies, right? Correct. So we're both smashing chicks. And the reason why I came with this, because I had this kind of thing in real life with my high school friends. So we both were on a race to smash 10 chicks. So we both smashed 10 women, but that doesn't mean we learn the same amount of things. You know what I'm saying? Because like me, the reason why I feel like I'm successful with women is because, well, I'm gonna name two things, and it's not about like a beard and clothes and stuff like that. But what happens is I figured out at an early age what women were drawn to. That's the first thing. But on the higher level, I figured out what women were drawn to, that they were attracted to from me. Because like a woman may like Jonathan because of his assholeness, but a woman may like me because I'm soft-spoken. So it's not always across the board. So once you figure out what what the women like about you. Like, you may not even be an attractive guy, but you might smell really good and be super funny. That can put you in the game right there. Just those two things. So it matters, but it kind of matters. It matters on what you get out of your experience that you're in. Now, some guys, I know a lot of alpha guys and high status guys that are into relationships. Now, they could be smashing a gang of women, but they're more into having one. You see, so it just depends. But just make sure when you're doing your things, do two things. It's imperative. First thing, focus on what you did first. Good. Guys always think about what they did wrong. I wonder what I did wrong. Did I say this wrong? No, you did plenty of shit right too. And the thing is you got to learn how to charge women to the game. That means cut them off, because so if I'm dating a woman and I do 7 things right, but the 3 things, like the DMV test, you know how you can miss 5, but there's certain things you can miss 1. So I could have did 7 things right and 3 things wrong, but one of those things was a deal breaker. But what happens is guys will try to focus on fixing that with the woman that they fucked up on. No, just take your 7 gems to the next one. That's,
I'm just saying that so many guys, I'm not, it depends on the path of life that you want to walk, but fundamentally speaking, in regards to checking all your boxes as to not get completely in a relationship, you gotta bang a good amount of broads before you decide to settle down, because I think every man kind of naturally has an inkling to wanting to settle down. Like, I'm getting to the point now where, like, if a girl is not coming to my front door ready to have sex, if we're not doing text to sex, I'm just like, oh, I gotta go on a date and like listen to you and look at you. Like, no, thank you.
Into this. Fuck.
How dare you demand such fuck work from me? So, but I think in order to kind of, Bill Burr talks about it, and then Patrice O'Neal talks about it, and he says, I believe all men. Patrice O'Neal said, I believe all men should womanize before they get into some sort of semi-monogamous or monogamous relationship. And then Bill Burr said, you gotta have sex with a bunch of girls and have fun. So when you're older in life and you see that hot girl behind the register, the temptation is just a little bit less, because you're like, oh, I've already had that. And it's true. Like, for me, Troy, what do you think about? I mean, what do you think about that?
Well, I agree, and I think you learn so much by getting with these girls. Like, I mean, there are girls. I sometimes see girls, and I think when I was 18, she would have been my dream girl. I think I would have seen her, and I'd have thought, oh my God, that girl is amazing. If only I could just possess her, then my life would be complete. And now I wouldn't go near her, because I've already been with that type of girl. And I know what she's like, and I know that actually she's probably a bit of a rotter. So I think that you have to you have to experience what's out there on the market before you even think about settling down. And the other thing is, as well, just to say what Corey was saying about these guys saying a high notch count has got nothing to do with masculinity. I mean, that is just plainly wrong. I mean, because in its most fundamental, that's not to say that every guy aspires to have a high notch count, and people can make their own decisions, do what the hell they want, but fundamentally the male biological imperative is to go out and impregnate or have sex with as many women as possible. That is just the fact of the matter. So to say it's got nothing to do with masculinity is just a falsification.
Who said that?
Or Tanner, or whoever said it. It's just not true. It's just not true. Now they could say I don't think it's in my opinion it's the best way for a guy to conduct his life to just cultivate a high notch count. You can make that as your opinion, but to say it's got nothing to do with masculinity is just wrong, and it's just stupid to say that.
Yeah, I mean, Abu, let's hear let's hear the profound wisdom.
Do I have some?
Absolutely. You wouldn't be on this show if you didn't.
Okay, fair enough. So, I mean, I think we're all in agreement. I think there's absolute congruence in all our standpoints. It's absolutely, completely, and totally unequivocally unarguable that the more experience a man has with a woman, the more success with women. And this is in the short term and the long term. It's an undeniable fact. You simply, just by experience through anything, you can just go outside of women, but it applies, some sort of, sticking to women, it applies to anything. You're just getting hours in. So the more experience you have with women, of course, the better you're going to be with women, and therefore the more successful you will potentially be with a woman in a relationship over the long term, simply by knowing how they operate. I think you said yourself, you understand their body language, you understand what they're saying when they're not directly saying it, because we know women like to beat around the bush with stuff and say things in different ways. You start to learn these type of things. And so for a man, a high notch count tends to have a better effect on him. It tends to make him better with women and to better, like you said, filter out what you do or don't like. Now, if you allow me to rant on for a minute, from the Islamic perspective, from the Muslim perspective, this is actually problematic, because you're not allowed to go around hitting and quitting it and, getting practice. It's very difficult for a Muslim man to do this in a way that's going to be acceptable religiously for him. And so you have like a restriction that prevents him prior to marriage to actually getting experience that will help him in marriage. Where we do actually get like a benefit is that you can marry multiple women at one time. So you can basically, your learning curve is steep, but you can learn really fast by marrying 3 women at once. You'll probably screw something up somewhere, but from a religious standpoint, it becomes difficult. And this is where actually I gain a lot of my my guys that I get on one-to-ones and whatnot. We have guys out there that have absolutely zero experience with women outside of direct family, and now they're going to get married. He's 26, he's 27, he's getting married, and he's dealing with a woman who grew up in the West, but he grew up with Islamic culture in the West. And so he hasn't really been dealing with women from a relationship standpoint, but this girl has all the Western expectations of a relationship, and the disconnect there is significant. So I mean,
I think so, yeah. Sorry,
and you see, this is why a lot of Muslim girls look for reverts like myself, because we come along, we're absolutely smooth. A revert is a guy who wasn't a Muslim but became a Muslim.
Oh. And I got to see my progression as a man and understanding female nature throughout this time frame. And even when I was sitting over 100 notch count, I was still tied into like the blue pill ideal. I still had all this guilt and shame associated with like the way I was trying to do business. I've never really had a long-term relationship. They've never really worked out. And it's because I didn't realize that I wasn't monogamous, right? Like every time I'd get into a relationship, 3-6 months in, I'm like, I'm getting bored and I got to sit here with this person for the rest of my life. I'm like, this can't work. I'm out, right? Going crazy. Yeah. And mind you, I was also trying to do kind of like what Prince Harry's doing, meeting these girls that just weren't relationship material. I didn't know my boundaries. I didn't know any of this stuff. So it wasn't until just recently that I started to like kind of keep tally and kind of realize, and then also takes toll of what I was up to and how my perspective was, that I started to realize, hey, like the more women I hooked up with and the more I tried things out, the more I was able to understand female nature and apply it across a blank slate, if that makes sense.